here again with our first officer Dieter, and what a night! What a night! We've given the night off to Eric, who's somewhere in the Caribbean scuba diving at some new special place he's never been to before, and Diane is on assignment. She's working actually.
Sent her.
So you're stuck with Dieter and I. And I was feeling a little melancholy this afternoon and wondering, what do I really want to talk about tonight? And then, as it often does, the universe says, "Hey, I got some ideas, Ron." So things were kind of quiet here, and you'll appreciate that as soon as I give you the my little shtick here. 1 second. And they were quiet, and then all of a sudden they started buzzing. Okay, for any of you who can't tell, that is the inside of my charbroil big gas grill. And last week, the fellow who takes care of my yard work here came in and he says, "Hey, Ron," he says, "come on out here for a minute." So I go out into the back. I've got a little alcove out my back door. And he says, "Lift the cover of your charcoal broiler very slowly." And I lifted up, and you can imagine my mouth dropped. This is full of honeybees, and those things, each one of those is about as big around as a watermelon in terms of size. He called them elephant ears, and you can see they just keep layering them there. I mean, I was so impressed with that. Anyway, so just minutes ago, I had a fellow out here, and he came and harvested the bees. He had a vacuum cleaner and a box and all that, and he was able to preserve the honeycomb. And he even gave me a sample from my own bee group here. Anyway, so needless to say, things have picked up around here, and we wanted to share that with you, or I did at least. The first thing we'll do is we want to, of course, announce to anybody who's not a member of our Fearless Flight Birds of a Feather private Facebook group to consider going over there. And while Dieter and I, well, at least me, while I was asleep at the wheel, we went from about 960 last time we checked to 1,000 and how many, Dieter? There were
1,032.
Yeah, so we're going to have to go back and figure out who was number 1,000, and because we wanted to do something special. So anyway, so keep those cards and letters coming, folks, and we're just really excited about the number of you who are doing that. And
Ron, did you know that today is actually National Pilots Day? So happy national! Thanks to Erin Ladybug, one of our longtime supporters. She put that up, and I didn't even know that. So happy Pilots Day.
Okay, well, the first best thing that happened to me is I received a call, as I do from time to time, and the call came in a couple of days ago, and it came into my Zoom file, so I missed it, and I went over there tonight just about an hour ago, and it was a person named Lindsay, and you can probably see her on the screen there, or you will in just a minute. And that poor lady, that bold, courageous young woman volunteered. I just talked to her literally about 30 minutes before the show, and I said, "Lindsay, how would you like to come on and share your story?" Because she's got an amazing story to tell. And I only have heard parts of it. Dieter only knows even less of that. So we're going to bring Lindsay on here and welcome her and give her a warm Fearless Flight welcome, which is, you can hear the resounding applause in the background there. So anyway, all we got to do is get her iPhone to cooperate, and sooner or later we will see her smiling face, unless she got cold feet.
There you go.
Nice to meet you again, Lindsay. I'm so grateful for you doing this, and we'll just start out. When you called me, you left a message, and I misunderstood the message until I talked to you just a little bit ago. I thought you were in Hawaii and you were trying to come back this way. It doesn't matter, really. I guess either way you're stuck. But anyway, so tell us a little bit, a little bit about yourself, and where you're at, who you are, and what's going on.
So basically, my husband, he got a job offer in Hawaii. We were living in Idaho, And he had lived in Hawaii previously and was really wanting to move back. And so work was really calling him back there. So, in 2018, we moved the family. We knew the move was coming for about a year prior. I was terrified for that full year leading up to that move because of the flight.
Right,
I'd always wanted to go to Hawaii. I had never even been to visit. I'd always wanted to go, but I didn't think I could do the flight. But
yeah.
I did. I made it out there. We lived out there, for a couple years without ever leaving the island, without island hopping or anything. I'm like, okay, I made it here. That's enough.
Sure.
Then my oldest daughter was getting ready to have a baby in the summer of 2020. And so we flew back from Kauai, back to the West Coast to be with her for the birth of her first child. And that was, we flew out the end of June, 2020. The baby was born the beginning of July. My husband could only stay a short time. He had to fly back and get back to work. So the kids and I have 4 kids total. And so the 3 younger ones were with me while I was helping my oldest daughter and my new grandbaby and kind of looking after her while she was recovering.
Don't look old enough to be a grandma. Let me tell you that.
So we stuck around and helped her for a little bit. And then, basically I've been on the mainland ever since. My husband has gone back home. 2 of my 2 teenage kids have gone back home. Eventually they were out here with me for about a year and they were like, oh my Lord, like we're just going, they're like, Mom, I'm sorry. We love you, but we want to go home, so they, my son, he caught a flight. He flew home alone. He's never flown by himself. And he was just like, see ya. And he got on a plane, went home, and he's been with
like, hey, Mom, it's not personal, but we're going.
Yeah. And I can't blame him. And then not too long, a few months back, my oldest daughter flew my youngest daughter back home. So she's home now. And it's just me and my son, out here now still just, I've been over the course of almost 2 years now, I've been to the airport 12 times and I've had such intense panic attacks that I either had to leave the plane. I just couldn't even stay in my seat. When I knew they were getting ready to close the door, I would just panic. And, or I would panic so bad at the hotel that I wouldn't even make it to the airport, or I would panic so bad at the airport that they wouldn't even let me on the plane. It's very, very extreme and intense. And it was not always like this for me. I used to actually love to fly. So I'm really hopeful that I can find my way back to that, feeling and work through this.
You can do that. I want to reassure you first and foremost that, and for anybody who might be just tuning in, or if you're watching the replay, talking to Lindsay Stebbins, and serendipitously, she appeared about 2 days ago or something in my phone bank. And she's with us. She's been stuck in 2 years. You've been
almost in June, the end of June. It'll be 2 years that I've been away from.
Okay. And her husband, the rest of the family. So you're living with the daughter that was over here that had the baby.
I'm actually staying with other family right now.
Okay.
But yeah, my husband has flown back a couple times to try to help me get home, to try to fly with me and support me. And even with my husband, I haven't been able to get on the plane. My parents have tried to fly with me. My oldest daughter has tried to fly with me. Several people have tried. I tried like an I'm not really into taking a medication, but I did try an anti-anxiety medication for one of the attempts, and I didn't really care for that. It didn't really work that well for me. So well, hopefully, if you feel uncomfortable at any point, don't hesitate to let me know. But let's just talk as if, I do 15-minute coaching calls for anybody who wants to. And so we'll just kind of talk about it, and I'll share with you what I would do with them, and we'll take a few minutes and we'll do that. And because for every person
that, like you, there's probably 50 out there, that have a similar story there. So what the heck? So let me just ask you, and you may have said it, but how long have you been not stuck in where you're at, but how long have you always been afraid to fly, or did you ever fly before?
I did fly before, and I actually loved it. We had some back-to-back tragic events, and we lost some people very close to us. Back in 2013, and ever since then, I just, it wasn't anything flying related. None of the tragedies were anything flying related, but this is just how it manifested. And, my fear really isn't the flying itself. It's more being out of control and the claustrophobia. And then not trusting myself that I'm going to be able to like calm myself down or regulate my emotions, and taking a long flight over an open body of water. In my mind, I'm like, oh, if I can't calm myself down and I need medical attention or something, we can't just pull over. There's nowhere for us to land up.
And there are people out there right now listening to you saying, that's me. And I'll just share briefly with you. There's two kinds of anxiety that people experience related to airplanes, typically in flying. One is the one where you're worried about the structural integrity and the survivability of the airplane and all that. And that used to be in a majority when I started doing this 35 years ago. And it's evolved now. And it's like, the anxiety is a growth industry on the planet right now. I mean, not just fear of flying, but a lot of anxiety around the world. And the other type of fear that people have is the one, and it's the dominant one now, is what you described. It's we have these things we call about people. Some people are worried about the airworthiness of the airplane, and then some people are worried about the airworthiness of themselves, in to the extent that they feel closed in, they feel claustrophobic, they're worried that they'll lose control and either at the very least make a spectacle of themselves, at the very worst draw unwanted attention and get themselves in a bind, and of course then there's the people that were misbehaving and got strapped with duct tape to the seat, which is if you didn't know that, I apologize. I saw
that one.
So I tell you, so you may be worse after you get in talking with me, but I hope not. But anyway, so that's it. And again, very common for you to say, it's not directly related to airplanes per se. It was because of a tragic loss, and without prying too much, with these deaths were unexpected, it sounds like.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And I just lost my mom just over a week ago, and even though she had dementia and she was ready to go, she's been ready for 14 years that she's lived with me, but nonetheless, you can't avoid the sting when somebody goes, and no matter, I'll be 75 in a couple of months. And you just realize that when somebody like that's close to you, it faces you with your own mortality, and it manifests in a whole variety of ways. And one of them is people get anxious, and a lot of people get anxious about flying. And I think it ends up being projected onto flying because flying has kind of a mystique to it. We certainly have as little control as you might ever hope for in flying an airplane, right? At least in a car, you tell yourself, I got the brakes, I got the steering wheel, I can exercise some control over my fate. But in an airplane, you got guys like Ron flying, and you don't know what he's thinking or what's going through his mind. So I think that's normal there. Have you done anything? Done anything? You've been struggling with this for almost 2 years, but have you looked into it? You obviously tried medication and decided that was not for you. Where are you with that right now? You called me, so yeah.
So my husband actually just landed back home today. He had come out to try to help bring me home again. Sure. I got to say, I'm very, very blessed that he's been so loving and patient. I've had so many people tell me, like any other man would have left by now. Like, I can't believe you still have a husband, like it's just MIA for 2 years. He's out there handling everything. But And but no, he's been very, very patient. But you know, I've tried, I've done some trauma therapy, I've done some EMDR, I've done hypnotherapy.
Okay. Oh, I lost your audio. Oh, there it is. Okay.
What's kind of worked the best for me, you know, on the plane when I am panicking, you know, I use like lavender essential oil, kind of help to calm, you know, meditation, things like that is, that's usually what I do. But yeah, I've tried so many things over the last, you know, couple of years, and I just have not been successful yet. And so I actually found one of your videos on YouTube, and my sister lives in Phoenix. So I was thinking, if I can get over there, maybe I can take this class, or maybe I can do just like, maybe I should try to do a little tiny flight, because at this point I feel like after so many failed attempts, it's been built up in my mind as this big monster that I know logically it's not. I know this is just something that I have created. And I feel like maybe if I can get a little bit of exposure therapy, not a 6-hour flight, but maybe just like a half hour, an hour, you know, and, you know, maybe just being around a plane or in a plane, you know, not with the expectation that I need to go somewhere, but just get a little bit of exposure therapy. You know, that's just something that I want to try, you know, because it's something I haven't tried yet.
So. Those are all really valid goals and valid strategies, and I hope that I can support you, because it's probably not comforting to you, but there are so many people like that I've worked with over the last 35 years that almost identical circumstances. Everybody's a little bit different, you know. Everybody has their own aha moments and things like that. But it's really, really, the success is really, really overwhelming, the number of people that do that. And it's not because of me, it's because people like you have the courage not only to reach out to somebody, but reach out to some knucklehead that calls you and say, hey, you want to talk in front of a bunch of people you've never met before in your life, you know? So, and seriously, there's some courage to that. And I just want to reiterate to anybody who might be joining us now, or who joins it on the replay, we're talking to Lindsay Stebbins, and Lindsay has the courage of, Ulysses, I guess, would be a good comparison, to come on here. We just met just literally a half hour ago, and she's been struggling with her fear of flying, and she's stranded and separated from her family here in the United States, and they're off in Hawaii. And Dieter, you got anybody out there? I would love to hear just some of the support, because you got people watching you right now that are saying, that's me. And some of them are saying, I did it. You can do it, Lindsay. I trust you.
Yeah. Or in the words of Susan, oh, Lindsay, you are not alone. And so that's literally one of the last comments that I've seen. And I know a lot of people can really empathize with you. And when I say that, I'm not sympathy, oh my God, you poor thing, but oh my God, I know exactly what it's like to be so paralyzed and to feel so, you know, powerless to overcome this, and that's the recognition that these people that are watching are really sharing, and so I really want to commend your courage, like Ron said, because part of the it's almost like that shame and embarrassment that we carry on the inside. It's like it's like this invisible cloud around us, and it really makes it so hard to have even a clear thought, right? I mean, you can function as long as you don't think about flying or you can function just fine. But then the moment that shows up, it's like, whoa, what just happened? You know, everything changed. And Jim, one of our longtime supporters, just said, been there, done that, and you can do it.
And got the T-shirt.
We are gonna get him to.
it's going to be a great day when I mean, I know I'll make it home. It's just,
yeah.
Well,
you're gonna have virtually everybody that follows us is gonna probably follow you, because that's at the top of the stories, having been separated that much from your family, and you can do it. Let me just talk a couple of things. I like to say, at least let's make it so you get some value out of this call and you don't feel exploited. But the thing about anxiety disorders is it uses your survival instinct. So it's not using anything extraordinary, that you're not different from other people. It's just that for some reason yours has been tweaked and it's up there. And I often talk to people about a smoke detector as a comparison to the mechanism that we have in our brain. A smoke detector does what? Well, it detects smoke. And it wouldn't be useful unless it got our attention, right? To know that your smoke detector is detecting smoke, but not give a warning wouldn't make any sense. So it has an alarm that's unique so that we won't mistake it for your, Beethoven's Fifth or your favorite rock music, So it goes off and now it grabs your attention. The trouble is a smoke detector doesn't know the difference between burnt toast and a real fire. So it relies on us, once it gets our attention, to make that discrimination, but how serious it is. And usually it's just Ron cooking and we just have to get a fan and blow the smoke away from the stove. Well, you have a part of your brain that's called the amygdala, and it means almond in Greek. And there's actually two of them, and they're right inside. And I can't tell you how many people know the amygdala now. That's just how widespread it is. Okay,
it hijacks everything,
and it does. Hijack is exactly the word. We don't like the word hijack anywhere in aviation because it has a real bad connotation. But when it comes to fearful flyers and your attention, it's really bad. And that's exactly what it does. It hijacks your attention. So the problem is no longer, even if it was worried about the plane crash or anything like that, now it's just that you have this invasive hijack that takes place and it will not let go. It's like a junkyard dog and you can't get rid of it. So the hardest thing is a couple of things that I shouldn't say convince people, that to get people to embrace is the fact that, number one, you can't stop it from being hijacked. There's, and that's for everybody. If I'm sitting here and I had, let's see, I don't want to make this sexual, but if I had some favorite dessert of mine, go by on a serving cart, I would not be able to ignore it. Right? If it was really that favorite to me, it's going to grab my attention, but it's not one that's going to trigger feelings in my body, because unlike the smoke detector that uses electronics to get your attention, your amygdala uses your biology, and therein lies the problem. And that biology is so convincing, and for people like you, it's not that, it's not that you're consciously worried of any particular threat. It's just that, I talk to people in terms of what's the stories that you hear about that, and most people don't even hear a story. All they know is that they have these overwhelming feelings of misery and dread. And we make this assessment that if I feel this badly, certainly I must be in some jeopardy, right? And as you pointed out, the jeopardy could be related to crashing in an airplane, but more and more people now, it's just whether I'll crash, whether I'll lose control or I'll suffer something. And so it really resides a lot in anticipatory anxiety. It's just thinking about how badly you'll feel. Because the reality is, once people get on the airplane, situational anxiety, that anxiety produced by actually being in that environment, is much less than the anticipation. But it keeps people from getting on the plane. Have you ever had to leave the airplane? Yeah.
Yes. And that was one time that I actually made it to my seat,
Yeah. And so what an additional, liability when you leave is that you get the same release of dopamine that you do if you had a successful flight, right? Because you get off and that little voice in your head says, we pulled it off again, Lindsay. Thanks for being with us there, and it works against you the next time. It makes it an even more overwhelming thing. So any particular questions that you might have that I could answer for you?
I don't know. It's been, I've done this so many times. I've attempted so many times that, I'm just hoping that maybe doing this, like a shorter flight or just a little bit of exposure therapy maybe will help. This is just kind of, it's not my life.
I'm going to get you to Hawaii. I kid you not. I kid you not. It's a fun thing, not to have people go through misery, but it's a very fulfilling thing. Dieter and I love helping people, and we love to see people do it. And you can. And the thing that I really want to emphasize before we end this is you have every resource you need already on board you. All you need is just help to call them in and to assist you in a way that you used to. Another perplexing thing for most people is, how can I fly and then not fly? What's the deal? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is very, very frustrating. And then, you guys were talking about earlier, there is a lot of like shame and embarrassment because you don't see the other people that are afraid. You see everybody else that's boarding the plane just fine and has no issues, and they're excited to go somewhere, like they're thinking about their destination, not the means of getting there, and that's where I want to try to shift my focus. That's how it used to be. For me, I loved flying, and I know that's still gotta be
there
somewhere.
Absolutely is.
Absolutely, yeah. I just want to say, Wendy just wrote a comment. She said, 3 decades of shame and fear. I get it. So please give this process all you've got. So that's Sue. That's Sue. Another. I think Sue actually didn't fly for 5 decades. So and she just recently graduated from our course and took the flight from Boston. So there's definitely this concept of what I want to say to you is, it's not mental. You think it's mental, but really it's a biology. It's a biochemical in a way interruption. And so it's a process that we got to reverse in some way. And I think you're onto the right track in terms of a smaller flight where you're not over water, where it doesn't you have something to look forward to at the destination. I think you said it's your sister, right?
My sister's out there in Arizona, but so
and
I don't know how my husband is gonna feel about me flying the wrong way, but finally get on a plane, you're going the wrong direction, come back this way. But, he's been very supportive of this idea. He was actually wanting to do the like a class or a short flight with me, but he's got to go home. We had 2 kids at home. We have like businesses to run out there. It's been crazy. I do hair. I've got clients at home that have been waiting almost 2 years to get their hair done.
There must be something about you, Lindsay, to have a husband who's hanging in there and clients who are hanging in there. So whatever you're doing, we would like to know that as well. So maybe we can do a swap. So
I'm very, very thankful that anybody is still putting up with me. But and anybody that can relate to this, one of the hardest things about it is, it feels very isolating when people don't fully understand what you're going through. And I've had people actually say really insensitive things like, well, your marriage must not be very good, or you must not really love your husband, or your husband, or you need to do this for your kids. And, no mom should be separated from their kids. I've never been away from my kids this long since they were born. So this has been devastating for me. So for people to say to me, aren't your kids important enough? Don't you love your husband? I mean, I've had people say, you're lucky he doesn't divorce you, and just the most god awful things, and just super insensitive. And it doesn't help. It doesn't help anything. And it's hard to tune that out and just stay focused, trying to make it back to my family, trying to make it back to my life.
Yeah, the thing that you mentioned, we get to know a lot of the people, and the two Sues that are usually on the thing are from Boston, and I went out to have a class in Boston last month for the first time. I've been doing them in LA and Phoenix here, and those two ladies are phenomenal, and the one Sue literally had been 50 years since she'd been on an airplane, and the other one, they're both just amazing women, and that's one of the things. So we have our Birds of a Feather private group that you can log into, and you'll get lots of support from people there, both some people in the same stage as you, some people having gone through it, and it is a process. It's not a one size fits all. It's not it's not a pill of Xanax or Klonopin or anything like that. In fact, sometimes that makes people more anxious, and it's a process. And not only do you need the support to get through it, but you need the support follow on in a sense of community. And that's what Dieter and I are the proudest of, is the fact that we got a lot of people who just show up and they support others, themselves. So anyway,
and Jim puts it best. Jim said, somebody who has never experienced fear flying, they can't relate to it, No. And so a lot of the comments as harsh and as they speak more about the people that made the comments than they actually relate to you, right? Yeah. And it's really
and even
feels like another dagger when you already have 250 stuck in yourself already, right? So
Lord, and I'm in a small town right now. I graduated from high school here, so I know a few people here still, and if I hear somebody say, "Oh, you're still here. What are you still doing here?" one more time, I swear to God, I'm gonna lose it. I'm just like, I don't even want to go to the store, because I know I'm going to run into someone. What are you still doing here? I'm just like,
okay. We need to warn people. You don't carry a concealed weapon, do you? We need to warn them if they do. We don't want to have that. We want to get you to Hawaii, not a.
We want to empower you.
Right.
And even the most well-meaning people, they think they're encouraging you by saying, "Oh, honey, you can do it. You can do it." But no, that's not what it. Up here, and that's one of the problems, is you're too bright for your own good. It's because that same mind that's got a wonderful husband and very creative, and it sounds like in your business and all that, it's always thinking up ways to terrorize you. And so it's counterintuitive, it's almost the smarter you are, the worse it is. So I joke about, I say I'm really good at helping people dumb themselves down, because that's kind of what you got to do. But anyway, I want to thank you so much for literally, this was unexpected to have somebody like you on, and I will be following up with this. And so we have a little bit less public conversation and help you come up with a plan to do that. I know you can come up with a plan, and that's all you need. And and you name the day and we'll get you to Hawaii, seriously. And it can be within a month, believe it or not. I mean, I have many people call me literally 24 hours before, but it's nice to have a little bit of time to start reconditioning yourself and working on the ability to get your attention back, because your attention's going to get hijacked, but what you need is ways to bring it back under your control. Because the difference between you sitting on an airplane and Dieter or I or one of the people who's gone through the class before is what we're thinking about. You're thinking about, oh, what am I doing? I can't believe this. And we're thinking about, what am I going to eat the next time I get a chance? Because that's what drives me. So anyway, Any last thoughts or anything that you might have? Just
no, I really appreciate what you guys are doing, and I hope that people don't feel as alone in this as I have felt for a long time. So,
it's not much consolation, but they do. Yeah. And Susan said earlier on, Dieter passed it on and said, "You're not alone." And that is probably the most stressful thing about it. And the one last thing I'll say is, the people that you see that look like they're doing okay when you get on, about 25% of them are worse than you are, but they're as effective as you are at hiding it. because they feel all the shame and the fear the same. So that's the thing. And having a community to do this with is really a big part of the problem, or a big part of the solution, rather. Okay. So thanks anyway. Thanks so much for agreeing to this, and Dieter, any final words from anybody out there?
Everybody's rooting for you and with you, and I'm just gonna say, I know Ron's gonna send you an email and everything, but definitely make sure that you join the Birds of a Feather Facebook group, because a lot of the people watching here, they're also in the group. So and quite honestly, Lindsay, and I don't want to diminish anything that you have done, because everything that you have done has led you to this point. Fortunately, unfortunately, where you're on the show with us, but I will say that this is really probably one of the bigger steps that on the entire journey, and that is the courage to come out and actually share your story in a way that makes you vulnerable and makes you, and when you go to the group and when you join, that video is in there as well, like the one that we're just
we're creating, right, so you can watch yourself.
Watch also the comments. Well, not so much. I mean, you can watch. You can watch
the comments and stuff.
But just the comments, so that this is not, this is not Rod and I kind of fast talking you or something. This is everybody who's kind of walked in that same path, that knows and has the compassion and the empathy and just heartfelt, support for you. So
I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
And the thing I want to leave you with is, when you get through this, you're going to look back. You want to keep a file of this video here, and you'll see how much courage that you really had to do this. Okay.
All right.
It really, I mean, I talked about it a couple of times, but that's why I love doing this. I'm a Vietnam vet and all that, but that was nothing compared to seeing people, seriously, watching people who don't have to fly, even though you got a family that's thousands of miles away, you could somehow you've been doing great for 2 years, but really, people don't have to get in an airplane. It's raw courage when you see people move forward like that. So anyway. You've touched me, and you've touched Dieter, and you've touched a lot of people. So thanks a bunch for coming on, and I'm looking forward to getting to know you and getting to share the space with you. Okay.
Thank you so much.
So thanks, Lindsay. Thanks, Dieter. Thanks everybody out there for another episode of Fearless Flight, and we'll be back next week. And my bees won't; they're gone. So,
but you got the honey at least. So,
but I got the honey. I got a plate of honey for that. So
and
anyway,
I just want to leave
everybody.
I just want to leave us with the words of Kimberly. She said, "We're all in this together." So thank you for being in this, and see you next week.